Welcome back. The Phillies and Rangers have both taken a 2-0 lead in the LCS series. Yordan Alvarez's flu game happened and it was amazing, but it wasn't enough. And the Phillies just simply can't be stopped. We're going to talk about all that today. NLCS, ALCS, they're both officially 2 games in, and both series, it is a 2-0 lead for that team. The Phillies took a 2-0 lead pretty much just now. The game just ended over the Diamondbacks. And the Rangers have a 2-0 lead over the Astros after winning both games in Minute Maid Park. Lewis, thoughts? I mean, these have been some fun games so far, regardless of if they were close or not.
Yeah. The games have definitely been close. It's been entertaining. I guess we'll start where everything started as of yesterday at Game 2 of the ALCS. Playoff Nathan Eovaldi is just a different beast. And I think that people just need to recognize that and realize that, hey, it doesn't matter how dominant or not dominant some guys are in the regular season. When it comes down to the playoffs, when the lights are the brightest, you have guys like Nathan Eovaldi, and if you want to go back a little bit further and, coordinate with maybe some people who might have watched this, the Yankees and Masahiro Tanaka in 2019 had a 5 ERA going into the postseason and then was one of the best postseason pitchers of that season. Just certain guys just have it, and it's bizarre to see. And Nathan Eovaldi is definitely one of them. He put up 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. And genuinely, although he did have 3 earned runs, it never felt like the game was close. Nathan Eovaldi just absolutely shut down that lineup, considering that 3 runs is less than what I would expect out of the Astros.
Yeah, I mean, especially at home. The Astros are this team that you would usually think thrives at home in Houston. But obviously, that wasn't the case here. Like you said, Nathan Eovaldi, 6 innings, and those 3 earned runs didn't really feel like 3 earned runs.
No.
In Game 2, the Rangers took a really quick lead off Framber Valdez, which I was on the money with that. I said if the Rangers are getting anyone, it's going to be Framber. And sure enough, Framber only went 2 2/3 innings, giving up 5 runs, 4 of them coming
In the first inning.
Just getting 1 out. He gave up 3 runs before he even gotten out. So
That's
they really jumped on top of him. It was almost the opposite of what happened in Game 1 with Verlander. Verlander let the bottom of the lineup beat him. And in Game 2, Framber, right off the bat, let the top of the lineup absolutely feast on him. And to be honest, 4 runs, well, I guess 5 earned off Framber. Those were the only runs the Rangers scored. They won 5-4.
Yeah.
It was a really close game when you look at it. Not to mention, by the way, Yordan Alvarez needs to be talked about because he had his Michael Jordan flu game in this game. Going into the game, it was said that he was dealing with a virus. He was sick. And what did he do? He hit 2 homers because that's just what playoff Yordan Alvarez does, naturally. It was just incredible.
Yeah, nothing more to say about it. I will say, yes, Jordan and Alex Bregman, 2 home runs off of Nathan Eovaldi, but the most impressive home run was later in the game. Yordan Alvarez hit another home run off of who else but Aroldis Chapman. But if you go back and watch the home run, and I don't know if you were watching live for this, I was. It was an 89-mile-an-hour slider, essentially outside the zone, away from Yordan. He's a lefty. It was in the right-handed batter's box almost. And he just turns on it and spins it right into the right field seats. That was spectacular. If that is not a display of what it is like to be playoff Yordan Alvarez, I don't know what is. And then to comment on your Rangers thing, the Rangers scoring 4 runs in the first is what they're accustomed to. It's what the Rangers have done all year. They get to a pitcher before they can get settled in. And if that's the game plan going into this series is, hey, let's run up the score before the Astros even have time to, pop the sunflower seeds in, tie the shoes, and put the glove on their hand to go, then that's what they're going to do. And it worked to perfection so far in games 1 and 2. Excited to see how game 3 goes.
Yeah, I was going to say with that Yordan homer, you kind of started to touch upon it, I wanted to say, people were saying right after it happened, it's another Aroldis Chapman in Houston moment. He's very prone to not only just giving up big homers in the playoffs, but especially in Houston, we all know what's being referenced to there. But this wasn't even Chapman's fault. I said it even before. There were people posting, classic Chapman Houston playoffs. It was not his fault. That was a pitch that most hitters are not hitting, but you
No.
got Yordan Alvarez.
If your
And
name
like
is
I
not
said,
Yordan, you're not hitting that baseball. It's that
well,
simple.
you got Yordan, and it was his flu game, his Jordan flu game. Like he had to. He was gonna hit 2 home runs in that game. It was just way too obvious. But yeah, again, I don't know how many other hitters are getting to that ball other than Yordan. So,
It
not to
was
discredit it.
spectacular. I think that's the way to put it.
Yeah, it was pretty spectacular. But regardless, the Rangers have a 2-0 lead now in this series, and I believe the stat I saw was no team has ever come back from a 2-0 lead in the ALCS after losing the first 2 games at home. And the Astros just lost 2 games at home, and now they have to go to Arlington to play 3. And they have to win 2 out of 3 in Arlington, which I think is a tough task, especially during the playoffs.
Yeah.
But then again, I also would have said that the Rangers going into Houston in games 1 and 2 is a tough task to beat them both games.
But they showed that they're up for the
They went in.
challenge.
Yeah, they went in and they did the damn thing. Also, the Rangers, they've only had one home playoff game this season, or this playoffs, so we don't really know, if they are kind of like a Phillies team where they just don't lose at home. So we don't really know what the vibe is for that. So
As of right now, they don't lose at home.
well, no, but you know what I mean. Like the Phillies have solidified the fact that they do not lose at home in the playoffs. It's just we've seen one game from the Rangers. We don't really know. Looking forward to Game 3. Max Scherzer is making his return, first time pitching since I think September 16th. A lot of people didn't even think he would be back for the playoffs. He was very determined to get back, and now he was officially announced, and he will be starting Game 3, which is pretty exciting. For the Astros, I believe it is Javier starting Game 3, and we know Javier does not give up runs in the playoffs. So I'm interested to see, you got this hot Texas lineup that gets pitchers early, but you also got Christian Javier, who is a really good playoff pitcher. So
Yeah.
we'll
September
see how that matches.
12th was Scherzer's
September 12th.
last start.
I was 4 days off. I was there.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't in the stadium, but
I will say that if I were Texas, this would be the game that I'm worried about, simply because it would be different if Max Scherzer were the Scherzer from 2 years ago or even from last season. But this Scherzer, who's now coming off an injury, is where I get a little bit concerned. I hope that we get a competitive game out of him. He's a big game pitcher, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's up for the challenge of trying to conquer this Houston lineup as his teammates have in games 1 and 2. But I don't know. If I'm the Astros, I'm thinking this is the time to get hot. 3 games without having to travel too much. Let's go get them. Let's attack. And I think that if anyone's going to get attacked, it's going to be Scherzer. And like you said on the other side of the ball, Christian Javier going in Game 3. Another guy who just steps up to the plate in the postseason, even if he's had a bad regular season. Looking forward to it.
yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's going to be fun. Also, Rangers are undefeated, so you can also take that into account. I guess they are the only undefeated team left in the playoffs. So we'll see if they can continue to do their thing and continue to roll, especially against a really good Astros lineup. And these have been close games. So, again, I believe, wasn't the last out of Game 2, wasn't it that deep fly ball from Jose Altuve? Almost tied the game, no?
I believe you're right. I can double check here.
But either way, I mean, these games have been really close. They honestly, we might have said that the Rangers, kind of obviously won this game with the way that it started and all that, but it was very close when it came to the end. So, and even the game before, 2-0. It wasn't anything crazy.
Jose Altuve, the flyout was the last out.
Yeah, I want to move on to the NLCS because, again, Game 2 just ended, and we didn't yet talk about Game 1, so I'd like to get into that right
Yeah.
now because Game 1 was the Zach Wheeler show. Zach Wheeler and Bryce Harper show, but Zach Wheeler was absolutely disgusting. He gave up a single to start the game to Corbin Carroll, and then proceeded to not give up a single hit for the next 15 not a single base runner. He retired 15 straight base runners after giving up that first single. 8 strikeouts. He was using all 4 of his pitches to just. He was untouchable.
He was using all. He was also using all 9 spots of the zone. And the one thing that I was watching for when the game started, and even the broadcasters had mentioned this, and it was something that I personally was interested in after reading a little bit about it prior to the game, was how Wheeler's starts are going to be based on how much he attacks the strike zone or attacks the hitter, as compared to how sometimes Wheeler goes in when he knows doesn't have his best stuff, and he doesn't attack the hitter. He tries to get them to chase more, throws more outside the zone. But Wheeler, in 6 innings pitched, threw 81 pitches, 56 strikes. Just absolutely owned the strike zone. Some of the balls that got called too, especially as the game got further and further, you could tell that the umpire had a very small strike zone. And guess what? Wheeler was still able to hit it. There were a couple of calls that could have went either way. But man, oh man, was Wheeler just dominant on the mound to each and every hitter. And I think that's more than evident when you say he retired 15 straight after Corbin Carroll's leadoff single.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he was just pounding the zone. He was not looking to walk batters. He had no walks in this game. He was just pounding the zone. He said, "You want it? Here it is," and they could not touch it.
Yeah.
Really impressive. Not to mention the way the Phillies started this game on the offensive side. Kyle Schwarber, first pitch home run.
I don't know what else to expect anymore out of him.
I think I said it going into the series. Schwarber didn't really do much in the first 2 series, really. So it would have been amazing if he could start to get it going. That would just add to the electricity that this team is producing right now, the good vibes. And he leadoff homer today and leadoff homer in Game 1 and 2 home runs in Game 2. I mean, we're talking Game 2. I might as well say, the Phillies did also win Game 2. They won 10-0. That final score was.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even a debate. They scored four runs in 2 straight innings.
That's a recipe for
runs,
success.
3 runs.
They scored 4 runs in 3 innings in Game 1, and then in Game 2.
No. They scored 4 runs in 2 straight innings. Yes.
Yes.
So honestly, they were up 2-0 heading into the 6th, and once the 6th ended, the game was pretty much over because the Phillies bullpen honestly has so much depth that you're not really worried about them giving up too many runs at this point. And yeah, the offense was just able to get to everyone the Diamondbacks threw at them. Merrill Kelly kind of settled in after the first couple innings, but then got shaky again. And then Joe Mantiply, they got to. They 3 earned off him in just a third of an inning. And same thing with Ryan Nelson. In just 2/3 of an inning, they got 3 runs off him too. So they were just, it's hard to, act surprised the Phillies scored 10 runs.
It's not surprising at all. The one thing that I do want to mention that I believe I had said last time we recorded this was for the Phillies bullpen, and this goes the same way for, honestly, both championship series matchups. One team has question marks on the back-to-back days of the bullpen, and I mentioned it about the Rangers, and the Rangers luckily were able to squeak out a win, although their bullpen did have 4 earned runs, which was amazing. But the Phillies feel that going into this game too, they felt the same way. However, they didn't use a single pitcher that they also used in Game 1, and these guys who the Phillies used after Nola were absolutely shut down. It's just everyone's firing on all cylinders. They're all hot. They're all just ready to try to win a World Series. And so far this postseason, they've been showing that they are the most capable team to win the World Series, both offensively and now in the pitching aspect of it. And
Yeah.
if this is the performance we're going to get out of guys like Trevor Hoffman, Matt Stram, and I don't even know who the hell this guy is, Oren Kierenberg? Who the hell is that guy? But guess what? He had a scoreless inning with 3 strikeouts.
By the way, it's not Trevor Hoffman. If it was
I
Trevor
just said
Hoffman,
Jeff.
No, you said Trevor.
Oh,
That would
excuse
be
me.
terrifying.
Excuse me.
if that was
Jeff
Trevor
Hoffman.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, well, imagine Trevor Hoffman was on this team. But anyway, yeah. I mean, they just got guys that are getting it done, and it's impressive. Not to mention, we didn't even talk about Aaron Nola tonight. 6 innings, no earned, no walks, 7 strikeouts. I mean, he was untouchable too.
Yeah. So just because, I mean, if we want to talk about Aaron Nola, the rumors that have been coming out since the postseason started of Nola and his team, who, just to preface this, Aaron Nola is a free agent after this season. Aaron Nola had been seeking out a contract extension prior to the season starting. The Phillies said, no, like, you're not worth that amount of money. You're not worth that amount of money. And Nola was looking for about an 8-year deal, a massive contract, a massive payday for essentially the best starting pitcher, too, that I think you can find right now on the open market in terms of offseason and, free agency and all that. This game was the give me that damn contract game for Nola. Because shutting down a Diamondbacks lineup that, as we've previously said, embraces chaos, I don't know what else you could possibly want out of a pitcher like that. He dominated.
Yeah, it was straight domination. It didn't even look like the Diamondbacks were even like in the box. He was just kind of like throwing to no one.
He was having a
throwing
catch.
into the zone. He was having a catch with the catcher. As one does.
You hear it all the time.
In this game. And I'm going to be honest, we talked about with a team like the Orioles, we talked about, lack of playoff experience might hurt them in the playoffs just because, the guys aren't used to the pressure and especially playoffs, first time. You look at this Diamondbacks team, where's their playoff experience? I mean, nowhere. Evan Longoria.
Baby.
But aside from that, there's really not that much playoff experience, and I think that's part of the reason. Not only that, but you can't go into you can't beat the Phillies at home.
Say it.
The Phillies don't lose at the bank. They just don't.
There it is.
It's like a simple fact at this point.
So just to put it into perspective, usually during the regular season, during blowout games, guys who usually ride the bench get ABs. In a playoff game, if your bench riders like Edmundo Sosa and Garrett Stubbs are getting ABs, you know that you just got your ass handed to you. And Diamondbacks, I hate to say it, but you got your ass handed to you.
Yeah, especially in game 2, that with the way Citizens Bank Park gets when they're winning in a playoff game, and especially in a blowout like this, at that point, the fans aren't even there to watch baseball. They're just there to just hang out.
Yeah.
Like, they're just there to scream. Yeah, exactly. It's like, we know we're winning. We might as well just start, celebrating now.
I will say that Philly sports, no matter how much you love or hate them, have one of the most dedicated fan bases. Because if you go on TikTok and you look up, hashtag Phillies or whatever, I was doing this this afternoon, there are people who are posting, come with me to my day at Citizens Bank Ballpark to watch the Phillies, who don't know baseball. It's like a bunch of guys and dudes who just want to hang out and drink beer, and funny enough, their buddy had an extra ticket. And they are just there to scream and yell. They just follow the noise of the crowd. It's hilarious. Seeing Liam Castellanos behind home plate, just celebrating every little thing, whether it be his father or not, just rooting for the Phillies that hard. Everything about being in the bank seems to be the best thing in sports. I just cannot get over it. I hope that everyone there is having a good time, and I know for damn sure the players are having a great time.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to be a Phillies fan right now?
I feel
that's the way I see it.
As hard as it is to say this, I feel like everyone is almost a Phillies fan based on simply, one, they lost the World Series last year, and they decided to go out this offseason and get better. Two, having guys like Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, Trey Turner, guys from all different sides of the baseball world in terms of their previous teams. Everyone just wants to see that group of guys win. You know, Zach Wheeler, like I've heard Mets fans say it's impossible not to root for the Phillies because Zach Wheeler getting a ring is insane.
Okay.
It is. Because think about it. When he was on the Mets, a lot of people were like, "Oh, that rotation is guaranteed to win a World Series," and all these years later, now he has more than a legitimate shot to win a World Series.
Yeah, I get it, but I'm just saying that's I don't know how many Mets fans are really rooting for the Phillies right now.
I don't know many Mets fans that are, but I'm just telling you that I've seen it online.
It's fair enough. Yeah, I don't think we mentioned Bryce Harper homered
on his birthday. Happy birthday, Bryce Harper!
Well, you beat me to it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say he homered in Game 1 on his birthday, 31st birthday.
Shall we sing Happy Birthday?
No, we should not. The celebration. It's not his birthday anymore. The celebration he did, holding up the 3 and the 1, blowing out the candles, that was pretty funny. Again, just the Phillies being the Phillies. It's a great thing.
Yeah, the fact that they're having this much fun in the NLCS just goes to show you how high the vibes are right now. And if vibes are high in Philly, ain't no stopping them.
Yeah.
They ain't no 76ers. They ain't getting bounced.
I agree. I wanted to move over back to the ALCS really quick and just get your thoughts on, obviously Astros are down 0-2, but we can't take out of account that they are the Houston Astros. They are that team with so much playoff experience in that lineup and that roster. Do they take 2 of 3 in Arlington, at least 2 of 3 in Arlington to bring it back home for Games 6 and 7?
So this is what I'll say, is that Game 2 is what I would consider a game of missed opportunities on both sides. The Astros went 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position, and the Rangers went a measly 3 for 14, which is very un-Rangers-like of them. Usually it feels like they bring a lot of guys all the way around the base path. The thing with me and this series moving forward, going into Arlington now, is how are the Astros going to handle the bottom half of their lineup to condition them and figure out what makes them not as powerful as what we've seen from time and time again. Because if you go and look at the Astros lineup, right, I'm clicking on it over here on my other screen, you see Martin Maldonado getting, an at-bat, which it should be Yainer Diaz.
No.
It should be him. Jeremy Pena going 0 for 4 again. Chas McCormick went 1 for 4. There needs to be more production out of the bottom half of the lineup if this team wants to score and wants to win games, because we know the top 4 or 5 guys can get on.
I see your point about what you're saying, but I very much disagree with that Yainer Diaz take. I think Martin Maldonado is one of the guys on this team who has that playoff experience. By the way, Yainer Diaz is 0 for 7 in the playoffs, so it's not like he's really come in and made that big impression.
Well, it's not like he's gotten consistent ABs.
I understand that, but still, Martin Maldonado, what he brings on defense, I feel like is so valuable, and that's really the biggest reason he's in the lineup, because of what he brings on defense. I mean, you might not know, I'm not saying you specifically, but some people might not know it, but he is one of the best defensive catchers in baseball.
No, he
is.
That
is why he's in that lineup. Yainer Diaz is a rookie. He's not one of the best defensive catchers in baseball. I understand what he brings with the bat, but with the other options they have, they're not sitting Michael Brantley, they're not sitting Chas McCormick, and they're not sitting Kyle Tucker. Those are their 3 outfielders, which means Yordan has to DH. So if Yainer Diaz is going to be playing, he's going to have to be at catcher. And I think that they would just rather have Martin Maldonado behind the plate because of what he brings on the defensive side.
Yeah, and you mentioned his name, which was going to be my next thing. Kyle Tucker, this postseason, betting .091. Not a good look for a guy who I think I've called more than anyone else, Mr. $300 million man. I mean, the guy is one of the best baseball players that is so underrated
No,
because he's in this Astros lineup. And
I don't think I've heard
it's
anyone else call him Mr. $300 million man, to be honest. So
well, then
yeah,
I'm
I
happy to
believe you on that one.
I'm happy to coin the phrase on it because I genuinely I've watched him enough
I
during
don't
these
know if you're
last three
coining the
seasons.
phrase.
No, I
I
am.
don't know if you're coining the
For
phrase.
Kyle Tucker, I am coining the phrase.
That's fine.
That's what I'm
I've
saying.
definitely heard the phrase before, just not for Kyle Tucker.
No, but I'm giving it to Kyle Tucker because if you watch him during the regular season, my oh my, like the guy just knows how to play baseball at just an elite and a half level. But if he's getting shut down in the postseason, it's a bad look for the Astros team because not only is Altuve struggling, but also having Kyle Tucker struggle and having Martin Maldonado and Jeremy Pena struggle. It's you can't have half an offense and expect to win baseball games. You know, if they want to bring this series back to Houston with a fighting chance of winning and going back to the World Series again, they need half of this lineup to pick it up because right now it's not working.
Yeah, I mean, dare I say, Kyle Tucker is similar to Aaron Judge in the playoffs, just not present.
It's true.
That was a double joke. That was a Yankees not making the playoffs, and that was a Aaron Judge doesn't play great in the playoffs joke. But yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see Kyle Tucker pick it up, and I think the thing is, it could happen at any moment. Not to mention, I also want to see Jose Altuve pick it up. Batting 160 in the playoffs for a guy with 90-plus games of postseason experience in the last, 5 years.
7.
I want to see more from him. You know what I mean? I think the last 5 years they have 90 games, just the last 5 alone. So,
which is insane.
So I'd like to see more from him. Same thing with Alex Bregman. You know, he might have homered in game 2, but he's still batting 217 in the playoffs. So I'd like to see him pick it up. And Yordan's going to be there. He's always going to be there. He is just incredible. Again, we talked about it. No matter what you throw to him, he's hitting it out of the ballpark. So that's always a good trait to have in a player.
Yep. And we're talking so much about what the Astros have done wrong in this series. Can we just also mention, let's give our flowers to the Texas Rangers, who their bullpen was the biggest question mark going into the series. And besides a couple of mistakes by, Aroldis Chapman, not even, one mistake pitch, their bullpen has been very good. And Jose Leclerc is panning out exactly how the Rangers needed him to when it matters most, and that's what matters. So good for them. Really have to say that everything just working. It feels like right now the two teams that are up 2-0 in the series, not Baltimore. If only. It feels like both if Texas and Philly are going to do this thing where, hey, my offense is going to be the best damn offense and my pitching is going to be the best damn pitching. If they go on to win their series in their respective leagues, we are looking at an absolute bloodbath of a World Series between two powerhouse offenses with absolutely dominant starting pitching as when the postseason started.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about Jose Leclerc. I mean, even in the regular season, Will Smith, who was their pretty much most of the season, their closer, wasn't the most reliable guy, and they were kind of had a question mark going into the playoffs of who will be closing out games for them. And Jose Leclerc so far has pitched in every single game of the playoffs that the Rangers have played.
Yep.
Which is absolutely nuts.
It's part of being dominant. Feed the hot hand.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 3 saves so far out of 7 games, 7 games, yeah. So 3 of them have been saves, and the others have just been, let's finish this out. And he's gone in, and he's finished it out. I would not mind if he was just every single game of this playoffs closing the game for the Rangers.
There's no reason for him not to do that.
Well, rest could take into account.
He's getting a rest day. He pitches 1 inning. Getting the 4-out save, by the way, when it looked like Chapman was in a little bit of trouble, was so beyond comprehension to anyone who was just watching the game how big it was. Yes, you can say, oh my god, it was only 1 out in the bottom of the 8th inning. It's no big deal. But, that's 1 extra out that the Houston Astros, who are the defending World Series champs, have to work with against Aroldis Chapman, who looked like he was faltering a little bit, but he was able to, hold his own for 2 of the outs. Of course, Yordan tagged him up, but what are you going to do? Type of thing. Shout out Jose Leclerc, man. He's the man right now. He's the man in Texas.
He is, because we talked about, like the rest thing. I just said it with Leclerc because they're going to play 3 games in a row starting tomorrow. I guess starting today, technically. And what's it going to look like if he can't pitch for the 3rd game? If they do get to a 3rd game, a 5th game, I guess it would be. What's it going to look like? Because to be honest, the rest of their bullpen, it seemed like serviceable, but I wouldn't say it's been as reliable as maybe everyone thinks it is. I mean, Chapman it has got himself into trouble, and he's, I want to say, gotten pretty lucky getting out of it at points.
For sure.
So it's not like they've been as convincing as Leclerc's been. So I don't know. Cross that bridge when we get to it, but just something to look out for.
Yeah, I'm. With that being said, I think I'm all ready to wrap up. Shout out the Phillies. Shout out the Rangers for being 2-0. As for the Diamondbacks and the Astros, hey,
pick it up.
Yeah, come on. Let's get some long series here. I want to enjoy baseball while it's still here.
No, I fear that the Phillies are going to sweep. Not fear, but I have a feeling. And then as far as, Astros, Texas has been a close series. Texas might be up 2-0, but these games have not been as far apart as the 2-0 might make it seem. So I'm excited, and that's all I got left.
Yeah, that's all I got too. You want to close it out?
Yeah, so we thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share, all that fun stuff. And we will see you guys in the next one. Let's go baseball. Let's go Phillies. Let's go Diamondbacks. Let's go Astros. Let's go Rangers. We will see you guys next time. Peace.
Where did you pull that from?